Well, thanks for joining us today on the Big Blue Podcast. I'm Greg Stone, Metro Campus Provost, with Dr. Leigh Goodson, President of Tulsa Community College. Hello, Dr. Goodson.
How are you, Dr. Stone?
I'm really well, because we are here today with Dr. Penny Stack. I should say the fairly newly minted Dr. Penny Stack. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Who's our Program Director for the Occupational Therapy Assistant Program here at the Metro Campus in the School of Health Sciences. And we're just here to talk today about OTA, and maybe that's a good place to start. We were just chatting before we started recording that it's hard to answer the question, so what is occupational therapy?
That is the multi-million-dollar question.
Yeah. What do you say when people ask you that question?
I say it's probably the toughest question to answer. I think for everybody that is an occupational therapist, they may give you a different answer because it's just so broad. So we work with people who may just have something that have come up in their life that makes it difficult for them to just participate in it every day. Ages from little babies that are just born into the neonatal ICU all the way up to the later elderly stages of life. So we cover the whole lifespan. What we're looking for is to help them re-engage in whatever activity they can no longer do, whether it's getting dressed or taking care of their family or working or participating in school. We just want to get their life back for them.
And it's so great to have been over to see the lab in the Phillips building and some of the work that you've done with the PTA program and the Nate Waters Clinic, just some of the exercises and simulations that you all come up with. It's been interesting to me as I've been more involved in health sciences the last couple of years to get a better sense of what OTA is. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who
No, you're not alone.
Sort of, how do you sort of put that into words? Yeah.
So can I do a follow-up and then also ask the same question?
Sure.
Can you differentiate it from physical therapy?
That is another great question because everyone thinks we are physical therapy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I think physical therapy, they work on mobility, joint, muscle strength, joint motion, how well you can get around. And occupational therapy, we want to know if you can get around. But once you walk to the bathroom, are you able to stand up at the medicine cabinet, reach across yourself, get something out of the medicine cabinet without falling over? We want to know, can you still function with whatever you can do? So we take it that next step, and it's all related to what can you do and your outcome. So the other thing that we look at is we take into account the psychosocial aspect of what's impacting them. Anybody that's had something happen in their life, it's affected them, their coping skills, stress. And so one of the big key differences between occupational therapy and physical therapy is we're really embedded in the psychosocial realm or the mental health aspect of a person.
Of being able to do what you need to do. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What drew you to the OTA field of study and then to get into the academic arm of it also?
Sure. Well, I think like a lot of our students, or a lot of what I've seen, I actually was a nurse's aide through high school and the beginning years of college. And I know a lot of our students that come to us also were nurse's aides. And so I was really interested. I saw a physical therapist in the nursing home I worked with, so I just assumed that's what I wanted to do because that's all I knew. So I went to the local hospital and observed with a physical therapist. And within an hour, I couldn't believe he knew me that well. In an hour, he said, "This is not for you." He took me down to meet the occupational therapist who had a lot of toys and just everyday activities that looked familiar to me, that would look familiar to you. And they were working with a patient to just get them re-engaged. And I thought, I can do that. To me, that made sense. And so from there, it was the rest of the story ended up here. And then to answer the other part of your question about academics, I've been a therapist for a long time, and I really was just excited about, passing the baton to the next generation. But I kept thinking, if I could impact the development of an occupational therapist assistant the way I would love to see them practice in the field, what would I like them to become? I thought it was a great opportunity. And so that's how I ended up in education.
Well, you've been here with us on our faculty for a couple of years now, and one thing that I hear a lot from people about you is that is that how interested that you are in interdisciplinary work, and about how OTA fits in so nicely, not just with PTA but with other health science programs that we have. Why is that an important part of your philosophy about teaching and learning? And what are the benefits to students from that?
Right. It's huge. It almost is everything for them or to them. But what's really important is to keep in mind we are a workforce program. And what that means is we're developing professionals who will go out into the workforce. And so part of our responsibility is how will they engage with their colleagues? How will they plan treatment? How will they coordinate treatment? How will they coordinate discussion with families and with other professionals? And do they really understand what other professionals do, what makes them unique, what makes their skills uniquely different to bring to the team, and how can they collaborate on those? And so doing interdisciplinary things with, the Nate Waters Clinic is a wonderful opportunity for students to engage in that, to understand what their colleagues do and go across. This semester's been just eye-opening, and the feedback that I'm getting from students is, I didn't really realize that's what physical therapy did, or now I see how we can work together. And so when they go out into the field, they won't be scared or timid. They'll be confident, they'll understand, and they'll be able to collaborate much faster. So I think we're really producing students who will enter the workforce much more prepared, and that's very important.
Makes sense. Well, I'm Leigh Goodson, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Greg Stone, and you're listening to the Big Blue Podcast. Our guest today is Dr. Penny Stack, and we've been talking about TCC's Occupational Therapy Assistance Program. So you've also, in the last year, provided your students the chance to work with some agencies here in the community and to develop projects for small grant funding. Is that something you want to continue to do? And can you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for the future with that?
Absolutely. It's been a great experience. Like you said, we just finished our first year. Last year, we engaged with the nonprofit agencies, the Center for Individuals with Physical Disabilities, Bridges Out of Poverty, and the Bridges Foundation. And this year, I'm excited that we are also adding pathways to that group. So the vision is that our students will align with a community agency that is a nonprofit that either underutilizes or doesn't know what occupational therapy is. And so they come together with the stakeholders and develop a program that may be a benefit to them. Our students do a community needs assessment. They provide pre and post information. We do that so the agency is then has everything they need to do to submit for a grant if they want to bring OT on permanently. And I'm excited to share that Bridges Foundation has done just that. So what this project has done is it's not only increased awareness with our community stakeholders, it's strengthened the bond between community stakeholders and TCC. It's also created jobs for our students. So it's huge, and I am absolutely doing this again. So I hope to see this just become bigger and better and increase more stakeholders as we go along.
I was so happy last year that you invited me to come and see some of those pitch sessions to those agencies, and it was so great to see those groups of students who sort of shared that information they'd collected from the surveying that they had done and all the work they had put in on those presentations, and you could just sort of see people from those agencies kind of light bulbs going off about, wow, this could be a thing. Like, this could really work and be so beneficial. It was just a great event to come see. I was so happy to have been invited over to kind of watch some of those and see our students perform that way.
Well, thank you for coming, and I want to share something really exciting with you. It's kind of an offshoot of that, but this year was the first year that we had TCC occupational therapy students represented at our state professional conference in September, and 3 of the students that were engaged in this project presented on that project to basically their future employers. These are colleagues that they would have, and their pitch was, if you can dream it, you can make it happen. And they were conveying that you can create your own job. Mm-hmm. And not shortly after it was over, I think the applause barely stopped. One of the stakeholders, or one of the attendees, got up and reached out to our student and offered her a job on the spot.
Oh my goodness.
She hasn't even graduated yet.
I bet that was very exciting.
It was exciting. It was super exciting. And so we're really empowering our students to just reach beyond what they thought they could do.
Well, speaking of the future, let's talk briefly about the future of occupational therapy assistants. And this is going on in several of our health sciences programs. We're starting to see this, talk about this at various levels across the country. But your national accrediting body, which is ACOTE, has recently kind of put the brakes on some movement they were making toward requiring that entry-level job needs to start at a bachelor's degree rather than an associate's degree. So just talk to us about what that would mean for our program, our students, and sort of where the state of things are now.
Sure. I think the state of where things are now, basically, I'll give you a little background on that. What the American Council of Occupational Therapy Education was trying to do was try to develop the rigor in education to bring up the standard in what our therapists can provide to our patient, and in the end, get better outcomes for patient care. I think that was the initial premise of the shift. And when I read over the initial standards, I had to say I loved the direction they were going to in terms of content. And the funny thing is, it's everything that we've put in our program here. So everything that they're asking, we are already doing on a much smaller scale because we're an associate level. So right now, what the association is trying to do is reach out to other stakeholders, make this more inclusive, to see the feasibility of institutions being able to handle the increase of education, and if there's evidence to show that the outcomes will impact patients. So right now, it's still a very robust conversation. But as far as what it means for our students, I think they're in a great position because they will still be adequately prepared to practice in the field, to take boards. And if this ever changes, it will be years out. And when it does, they'll just be grandfathered in. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't negatively impact the students at all. And they don't have to feel like they're missing anything because all the content they already have in the program.
So just more to come.
There's just more to come.
Yeah.
It's the big unknown, right?
That's very exciting.
It is super exciting.
Yeah. So you've been with us for a couple of years now as a full-time faculty member. Tell us what you've enjoyed about being here at Tulsa Community College, and maybe what surprised you.
It's been a breath of fresh air, to be honest. I think the one thing that excites me the most is the openness to change. Everyone's been super open to new ideas and being willing to try new things. And just like the project we spoke about minutes ago, when I suggested that, their response to me was, yes, go ahead, we'd love to see it. And that is exciting to me as faculty, and I'm able to pass that on to our department faculty, and our students see that. It was impressive to our students to see Dr. Stone at their presentation. They were in awe. And that kind of openness and supportive community and knowing that TCC puts students first is what I enjoy most about being here. It's very evident in everyday practice that happens.
That's good to hear.
It is.
Well, we only have just a couple of minutes left, but we want to ask you the question we always ask all of our guests, which is if you could go back in time to give your 18-year-old self some advice before you started out in the adult world, what would that advice be?
That's a great question. Believe in yourself, follow your passion, find a mentor, and never give up.
Good advice.
That is good advice.
For people even older than 18, that's still good advice.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, you've been listening to the Big Blue Podcast. We want to thank our guest, Dr. Penny Stack, for joining us today, and we want to thank all of you for listening. Remember, you can catch the Big Blue Podcast each week in the Week at TCC and on the Creativity channel on YouTube. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Penny.